His life may have been turned upside down, but Taharan's morning routine endures. He should be getting ready to go to his school. He should be walking through his front door. Instead, it's a stroll through the sprawling sea of shelters that's been home for 2 years. For everyone here, life is on hold. But with almost no education provision, teenagers have it worst. Dreams of graduating from school have to wait. At makeshift study groups like these, they refuse to give up the fight for education.
I want to be a doctor because if I will be a doctor, I can do everything for our Rohingya community and for everyone of our Rohingya.
Outside the camp, local Bangladeshi schools like this one once opened their doors to Rohingya children. But fresh attempts to send the refugees back saw the government put an end to that. The headmaster says his hands are tied.
The government thinks that the Rohingya students may get involved in militancy and crimes. They can be more radicalised and get involved with crime if they have access to education.
After they were kicked out of the classroom, the students took to protest. Education for all, why not for Rohingya, this girl asks. For some, the expulsion was crushing, but has hardened their resolve.
When I was kicked out of school, I cried loudly. And when I went home, my parents were also very upset. I want to be a journalist because I want our voices to be heard. I want to help my community by highlighting our suffering.
Back in the makeshift classroom, the boys are learning English, and the student has become the teacher, Taharan playing his part to inspire.
I think that if I teach them, they also promote their education, and they can also teach another student, another generation, and also they can also promote the children of education.
There may be little cause for optimism here, but it hasn't stopped some bearing the hopes of a lost generation of Rohingya children on their shoulders.
Joining me now from London is Kate Shootsy of Amnesty International. Now, Kate, you visited Bangladesh just last month. Tell us a little bit more about what you saw.
Yeah, so we went to several of the refugee camps and talked to a number of people, and at the forefront of their minds was the need for education. Even speaking to young people, there's very few options for them to get a meaningful or a quality education within the camps. There are some child-friendly learning spaces at the moment, but they only cater for young children, and they are more about play and connection centres about formal learning. So there's this concern now that it's 18 months on from the crisis that first resulted in these people fleeing to Bangladesh, and if something's not done soon around education, that we lose a generation in terms of development and reaching their full capacity.
One thing that I don't really understand, hopefully you can explain, is why doesn't an international organization or the United Nations just provide that schooling in these camps? Why can't they just move forward and do that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, there are organisations working in this space right now, and they're trying to develop curriculums to ensure that that schooling is provided to these kids. The block that we're hearing at the moment is the Bangladesh government is still very heavily focused on returns to Myanmar. They want that to happen soon, and there seems to be this fear that if they allow any kind of medium to long-term development plans that invest in building up the community, making stronger shelters for them, providing education for these kids, that these people are going to stay in Bangladesh longer. And so Bangladesh has a real fear that this is counterproductive to what they're trying to achieve with sending people back. But the reality is that things haven't changed in Myanmar over the past 18 months. They're unlikely to change overnight, and we need to look at the realities and the rights for people within the camps right now.
Now, one thing is, didn't the Bangladeshi government receive loans and money to provide education for the children in these camps? So isn't the government breaking their promise when they are preventing children from accessing education?
Yeah, so essentially what happens is a number of governments have committed funding through a UN process to various issues within the country to support Rohingya refugees. One of those categories where funding commitments have been made is under the banner of education. But obviously the Bangladesh government has a very strong say in how that's provided to Rohingya refugees within the country, and that seems to be where the roadblock is happening right now. So in principle, there is the ability and the funding available to provide education resources to these kids. But the question is, how do we provide quality education and make sure that the Bangladesh government isn't sort of hindering that process and making sure that education is quality and meaningful at the same time?
Kate Schutze, thank you.